sometimes it takes a second for it to link up.
Yeah.
So what have you done today?
I'm still doing a bit of decorating. I've got a good friend who I sort of try to get out once a week and have breakfast with him. My son came along today. We had to end up fixing one of his amps, so he brought his amp around to the house and we put new valves in it. And that's been it very much today. Been preparing myself for tonight.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so we are live. I can see us on the Facebook page and people are joining us. Unfortunately, for Richard and I, can you see any comments, Richard?
I can't at the moment, no.
Okay.
There is a button at the bottom. I don't know whether that'll bring comment. No, that's for me to write a message.
The only problem is that I can see the comments on the screen. They all say Facebook user. So I'm sorry if it's Richard, Renee. Richard and Renee are here with us, and hopefully a few other people will join, but I can't see your names. So sorry guys, if I don't, I'll look on my phone. So I'd be looking away, Richard, just so you know what I'm doing.
Okay.
I can see the comments, but I can't see the names. So I want to be able to acknowledge that people are here. So
okay, but that's another Richard.
That's Sorry. Richard Dunning. He's actually talked about possibly joining a team local to him. Now he's in, I think Richard's in Hartlepool. Yeah. I think that's where he's at. And he recently had surgery on his knee, but he's looking at maybe next year putting together a team.
Great. Hi, Richard. We have spoke. I think we've passed a few messages back and forth.
Okay, good.
It's a little bit of a complex situation at the moment, but we're going to be launching this tournament for the 19th of April next year. And there's going to be a launch date at the beginning of November. So I've got to keep hush-hush about it because it's going to be a big event. There's going to be countries coming in from other countries coming over here to play with us.
Oh, nice.
And when that happens, Richard, I'm going to link you up with somebody in that area, and hopefully we can get you in a side up there and get a five-a-side to get a team together. Based up in the north. Let me think now. I'm trying to do my geography. Northeast of England, I think. Hartlepool.
Okay, he says he's going to be in touch, so that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we should get going because we're going to try to keep this short and sweet.
Right, okay.
But not too short. So just for those of us, or for those people who will be tuning in and watching later, if you want to just tell us a little bit about who you are, your name and where you're from.
Okay, my name's Richard Ellis. I'm from the most southerly point of Wales. It's a village called Rhys, and it's just outside Cardiff. It's between Cardiff and Swansea, and you will not get no further south in Wales.
Okay.
I've worked 30 years for the local authority in services for adults. Ironically, working for people with disabilities, putting together packages of care and designing services for people. And I'm 59 years of age.
Well, welcome. So when you say that you were working with local services and you're designing packages of care, what's your background? Are you like a nurse, a care manager, or I don't know what kind of...
started off in 1976. I was actually an engineer, and I've done 10 years of engineering, mechanical engineering, and it was a difficult job. It was a hard job. It was a heavy job. I didn't like the hours. I didn't like working out. And an ironic thing was I injured my leg playing football. And whilst I injured my leg playing football, I met somebody from social services who talked to me about providing services for people with disabilities. And I ended up applying for a job and getting in and working with social services, where I ended up staying for 30 years.
That's amazing. So you must have a really great understanding of what services are available to people with Parkinson's in your community.
Do you know what? I'm absolutely ashamed to say no.
Richard. Is that because you were dealing with a different segment of the population? Like you weren't dealing with, Because Parkinson's isn't necessarily a disability. Were you dealing with specifically people that were in wheelchairs or maybe had?
I was dealing, first of all, with, I was working and providing services for people with a learning disability.
Okay.
People who had either born or through an accident had a learning disability. I then went to work.
Yeah.
I then went to work in services for older people.
Right.
And I was about 40 at the time when I was working in older people's services, and there were people within those services that had Parkinson's, and I actually knew nothing about Parkinson's, and the people I was working with. Also, I didn't actually realise that I most probably had the start of Parkinson's myself at that time.
Yeah.
And I met with people with Parkinson's. We talked, and we tried to design packages of care for them.
Yeah.
And I would put staff in place to help support those people. But now I look back and I think there is a big hole there where staff are not taught enough about people with Parkinson's.
Right.
And that's, in my experience, broadly across the professional field of people working in services.
So is there maybe a job for you there to educate people on Parkinson's? Because you already have a background in that industry, and now you can give them that unique, from the Richard experience with Parkinson's, you can educate people in health services, and so they can provide better health services to people with Parkinson's.
Yeah, I've been in touch with Parkinson's UK, and they're interested in me becoming, I think they call it a Parkinson's champion, where you go out to residential homes and talk about Parkinson's and talk about your own experiences. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit busy to do it at the moment, but I'm doing it in other ways. I'm doing it through my social media. I'm doing it hopefully through my sport. I'm doing it through helping individuals. So it is something that I want to move on to and do a lot more and get more involved in.
Good.
But it'll be interesting going back to old staff groups that I worked with and actually saying, hello, this is me. Yeah. I have Parkinson's.
I bet you they would love that. Yeah. I bet you they would love that. Yeah. So how long have you been symptomatic for? You said you're 59 now?
I'm 59 now.
Yeah.
When I got to 40, because a bit of what we're going to talk about is football. When I got to 40, I stopped playing football because it just started to hurt. It started to get painful.
A lot of things start to hurt at 40.
And I put it all down to being 40. You've reached the ripe old age of 40. And life suddenly changes. And I was struggling with things. And I just kept putting it down to my age. And for almost the next 10 years, I had a series of symptoms and illnesses that it's easy to look back now and say they are symptoms of Parkinson's, but at the time we weren't just never ever picked up. One of the first things that I picked up on was my Parkinson's affects the right hand side of my body.
Right.
And my right eye used to twitch. Now, I've got photographs. Obviously, I've not got a photograph of my eye twitching, but I was closed, So I know that it was around 40 that my eye started twitching.
Like it started to get like sleepy looking, kind of like droopy?
It would just vibrate with my cheek.
Okay, yeah, I know.
Tremor. Yeah, a tremor in my eye.
Yeah, oh.
And some other little things which you just wouldn't run off to the doctor about. My shoes were wearing differently. Sometimes I'd have a little stumble. And it's not the sort of thing you run off to the doctors and they'd be sending you back on your way. However, there are a couple of significant things. I went through a very stressful period of my job where there were two managers managing the area that I worked in, and they decided only one would do it, and they gave the job to me. So I was suddenly doing two people's jobs.
Wow.
And that became very stressful for me. I had some other challenges in my life. One of them was losing my younger brother.
Yes.
My mother was in her early 60s and had a number of strokes. So my visits back and forth to doctors were more about
Yeah.
my anxiety, my depression, which are symptoms of Parkinson's.
But which could also be attributed to what you were experiencing. So
Yeah,
you're young, and most doctors don't go, well, this person has some of the symptoms of Parkinson's. So when you have obvious reasons to have those symptoms anyway, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I think you're one of many people who are,
Who will tell the same story?
yeah, stress is a big, I think for a lot of people. We don't know what causes Parkinson's, especially if you don't have like a genetic version, if it's idiopathic, if it just develops spontaneously, I guess is the best way to say it in your family. But I've heard a lot of stories from a lot of people that their symptoms emerged or they started to become really noticeable during great periods of stress.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people.
Yeah. My tremor comes worse under stress.
Yeah, any kind of neurological challenge will make, I mean, my tremor's going pretty good right now too. But okay, so you were about 40 years old when you were symptomatic. So how old were you when you actually got your diagnosis?
Well, if we come to about 48 years of age, I was still working at 48, but I was in work and I was starting to struggle with my job. There was things like I was getting these periods where I just couldn't keep my eyes open. Lucky I managed myself, so I would make excuses like I'm off to a meeting and I go and park the car half a mile up the road and have a kip in a lay-by. I was reading emails, and do you know when you read an email and nothing sinks in? And I had to read the email time and time again, and things were just not, there was something not quite right. I also picked up on, I started to lose my use of my right hand. So I was using a mouse with my left hand and leaning over, and I was getting breathless.
I have that too.
Yeah. So off to the GP, and I was diagnosed with asthma. And given asthma pumps.
You had an inhaler?
I had two of them.
Did they help?
No, because I didn't have asthma.
I've never heard that before. That's a new one. I should write that down actually. Asthma.
Yeah.
Parkinson's or asthma?
Yeah.
Well, okay, what? Yeah, okay. Well, they probably thought the lack of being able to breathe was making you feel tired and you know, it was a cascade effect causing if you're not oxygenated properly, you're going to have all these other issues. But that's a new one.
A couple of years down the line, I started to do my own research and start to look at it, and the word Parkinson's kept coming up. And so I went off to my GP and I said, look, I got the anxiety back, I got the tremor across my chest, down my arm. I was getting things like cold weather would set the tremor off. Yawning, I'd yawn and my right hand would tremor. I don't know whether other people experience that. So I said to my doctor, I got brave one day and I said, do you know what, I think I got Parkinson's. And he smiled at me and he said, you're too young for Parkinson's. So that was left.
Did that not just piss you right off? Like looking back, like that's very patronizing, don't you think?
It is, but we put a lot of faith in our medical profession, and I knew nothing, or I knew very little about Parkinson's. I grew up with a man who owned a local shop who shook and had Parkinson's. As a little kid, I used to ask my mum, why did he used to shake so much?
Yeah.
A couple of people that I met later in life had Parkinson's. But now I know there are people all around me that have Parkinson's, but I'm not showing symptoms at times when I'm with them.
Yeah.
So it didn't piss me off, but it just I just felt it hadn't been explored enough. So I made an appointment to see another one of the GPs in the same practice, and that was about feeling unwell and anxiety. And I said to him, I think I got Parkinson's. And he didn't even acknowledge it. He said, I think you've got a frozen shoulder and we'll get you off to see a consultant. So off I went to see the consultant. I told him I thought I had Parkinson's, and he told me no, I had a frozen shoulder. And
this is just, yeah.
So I had a few injections in the top of my spine.
Cortisone?
Well, I can't remember what it was, but it was done under X-ray because it was very close to the jugular vein down your neck. Yeah. I had it done under an X-ray, and things didn't get better, so he sent me off for physio. Yeah. And I started. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, was this consultant a neurosurgeon, or was he an orthopedic surgeon, or with the frozen shoulder?
He was just a guy that dealt with frozen shoulders and back problems and
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
So I went back to him. I went to physio for a couple of months. Nothing was working. So I went back to see him. He said, "Come into my room. Give me some more injections directly into the shoulder."
Wow.
And it was only really my physio. One day I had this lovely physiotherapist, and funny enough, she was really into her football, and we used to talk a lot of football. But one day, things were a little bit different. I went there, and she seemed different. And we didn't do the usual exercises. She said, "I want you to come down to the gym with me." So she took me down to the gym. She gave me a set of heavy dumbbells, and she said, "Pick them up for me." And I could pick them up. There was no problem.
Yeah.
The only problem was when I put them down, my right hand would shake a bit. She gave me some bench presses to do. I done bench presses, no problem at all.
Yeah.
She said, "There's nothing wrong with your muscles." She said, "You've got complete strength in your left-hand side and your right-hand side."
Yeah.
However, I think that your brain is not sending the messages to your right hand. Yeah. I suggest you go back to your GP and you see a neurologist, and that's where she left it.
Yeah.
Now, for somebody who, I didn't know I had Parkinson's at the time, but part of my Parkinson's is my anxiety. That was the worst thing to say to me, because I wasn't going back to my GP. I went straight home and got on the phone and found a private neurologist, and I was there literally 2 days later.
Oh, you can do that in the UK?
Sorry?
You can do that in the UK?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I phoned up a private neurologist, went there, and gave me a number of tests. There was probably tests that are similar to tubercle, little birdies, and draw the little circles and that. Yeah. And we done this for about 20 minutes, and we sat down, and he said to me, he looked at me straight, and he looked at my wife. He said, "What do you think it is?" And I said, "I'm not going to make a fool of myself and say I think it's Parkinson's again." But the words came out. I said, "I think it's Parkinson's."
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he said, "I think you're right."
Yeah.
And
how did that make you feel?
The first thing it made me feel was a massive feeling of relief.
Yeah, I think you're not alone in that.
I'd struggled for at least the last 5 years with illnesses that people couldn't tell me was anything wrong. And I was that close to thinking, I'm not going back to the doctors because they think I'm lying. They think I'm making all these symptoms up, you know.
Yeah. It's all in your head. Did you feel that it was just all in your head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the first initial feeling. The second feeling was I knew Parkinson's was not going to kill me today, tomorrow, or the next day, or the next year, or whatever. So it's not something that is life threatening at this time in life. And I remember saying to my wife, "I don't want anybody to know about this. I need to find out more about it."
Yeah.
And that's where we went from there. That's how I found out. And it was a cold, snowy January in Britain.
Yeah. Wow. So how did your wife respond? She was there in the room with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was in total shock. Even though I told her before. I think my wife was don't believe everything you read on the internet. And
Dr. Google.
Yeah. So she was in complete shock, and she said, we'll get through this.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, yeah, you want to have someone there that can be supportive, and it sounds like she's really supportive.
Yeah, yeah, which was nice. Yeah.
So you've been living with knowing you have Parkinson's for a while now.
Yeah.
How would you say overall that you're coping with it?
I think it's just become a part of my life.
Okay.
I could be living with something else. I could be living with a lost limb. I could be living with diabetes. I could be living with something, some other disease. I could be dealing with things far worse than Parkinson's. So in some ways, I feel grateful that I've got something that I feel that even though at this moment in time there's not a cure, there is something that I can help control. And there are things that I can do in my life that can make my life better, that can make my Parkinson's better.
Yes.
And, so.
Sorry, I'm just reading the comments because I know there's new people that are joining us. I can't see who the comments are from on this on my screen, so I'm looking at my phone. And we have a couple questions actually. So Richard, I'm going to ask you just a couple questions from the audience.
Okay.
So one of the questions was, do you still drive?
I still drive, yeah. I'm sensible about my driving. When I drive, I drive fine. I don't have a problem driving. The only thing that's going to affect my driving is whether I feel tired or not. Yeah. And that's the same for somebody with Parkinson's or without Parkinson's.
Exactly.
My wife and my daughter who drive in the car with me would be the first to tell me if they felt I was unsafe. And I would be the first to want to know if I was unsafe.
Yeah.
I drove this year. I drove up to the Cotswolds, which was about a 2.5 hour drive. I drove down to Devon, which was a 3-hour drive. Some days, we all know the unpredictability of Parkinson's. Some days I'll get up and I'll say, I can't drive today, and pass the driving on to other people. But yeah. It doesn't cause me a problem.
Okay, and then another question is, Dean wants to know, is there a high prevalence of Parkinson's in your area where you live? That you're aware of?
I'm not aware that there is. Trying to put a football team together has said to me there's not, because there's not very many names coming forward to play. But demographically, I'm not aware of any significant higher or lower amounts of people with Parkinson's in South Wales or in Wales in general.
Okay. So you talked about football. We might as well bring the subject up. Let's talk about the UK YOPD Football Club. Yeah. So, before we get into that, and we've chatted before this live interview, that you use exercise as one of the ways that you deal with your Parkinson's disease, and you find it helpful. Is it fair to say you find it helpful?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If not one of the most helpful things that I can do personally for myself.
And what type of exercises do you do?
Well, at the moment, I do religiously. I do at least 3 times a day. I will do 15 minutes of stretching and yoga. I just need to do that. That's the first thing. I've literally not got out of bed. I've taken my tablets, and the first thing is I do a 15-minute stretching routine.
Right off the bat.
In the morning.
Okay.
I have 3 classes that I go to. A Tuesday, I go to circuit training. On Friday, I go to football for non-Parkinson's people. And on Sunday, I do beat boxing, which is absolutely incredible. If you've got Parkinson's, that's incredible.
So that would be something similar to a Rock Steady type program, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I've got some training aids around the house, so I do something every day. And
I saw your video with the little ball.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'd want one of those, but Rosie would rip that right off my head. Just like that.
I do intensive training for 15-minute periods because I find that suits me, because I just always haven't got the time to do an hour here and an hour there. So I do 15 minutes. I've got a punch bag out the back in the garden. Yeah. And I will go on there. a minute high intensity, 30-second rest, a minute of picking up weights, 30 seconds rest, a minute back on the power, and I'll do those high intensity. So it takes me 15 minutes. So I try and get 15 minutes in each day. So what we're talking about is a group of people here in what the UK YOPD is 2.5 hours a week. That's what you need to get a minimum in.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, I think I'm doing about 7 or 8 over the period of a week.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that you get your heart rate up. Now, you don't have to get your heart rate up just by getting on a treadmill. There's other ways you can do it, like Richard's talking about. You can do high intensity interval training where you're using weights. You can use lower weights and do higher reps. You can also do lower reps, higher weights, and then just don't take as long a rest. I mean, but that, that can be quite draining. There's all kinds of ways that you can get your heart rate up, but that is really the key, is you want to elevate your heart rate for at least 30 minutes at minimum 4 times a week. But I mean, if the more you can do, the better.
And get the body moving.
Get the body movement.
I got this little saying that I keep saying to myself, your brain will remember. And at one time, I went my Parkinson's affected my right-hand side of my body, so I started using my left hand. I even started to write with my left hand, and everything was predominantly left-handed. Since I've been doing the boxing and the football and I do PD Warrior. I know some of the people listening might know about PD Warrior. Yeah. My right-hand side has come back to me, and I'm starting to lead with the right hand. I'm starting to write with my right hand again. So to me, there's evidence that exercise is working very well for me. Yeah. And I think people should be doing anything. If it's walking, if it's moving. I watch a lady, I don't think she's got Parkinson's, but I watch a lady in her 80s. She walks down the road and she swings her arms like a helicopter. And I say, good on you. You know, that's a really good exercise to be doing it. And she's going along the road, all the cars passing her and whatever. And I think, that's
whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been exercising now. Did you play football all your life? Like, because you said you played football.
I played football up until I was 40.
Yeah, until it started to hurt.
Yeah, until it started to hurt. And then I carried on exercising, doing little bits in the gym, a little bit of road running. I'm not very good at road running. I get bored quite quickly with road running. So I do a bit of cycling as well. Yeah. I started doing a bit of badminton. Some bits and pieces like that. But as I mentioned to you before, I got myself in a rut. Yeah. Where I was going to the gym, I was doing the same exercises, the same 20 minutes warm up, the same weights lifting and that. And it almost became just not beneficial to me.
Yeah, because your body adjusts, right? And your body adapts to whatever stresses that you place on it. And you hadn't placed any new stress on it. So like,
and I started to, I didn't realize at the time, but I was getting apathy. I started to lose interest in going down the gym. I pay my monthly fee down the gym and possibly go twice in the month. I found myself sitting around a lot, and I wasn't depressed. I wasn't unhappy. I just didn't feel like doing anything. And
apathy can exist outside of depression and anxiety. Apathy can exist completely on its own, which is, I'm glad that you can that you figured that out, because a lot of people think that because they have apathy that they must be depressed. But it can be a symptom unto itself.
Yeah. My wife would come home and I'd be sat in a chair at 5 o'clock and she'd say, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I've just been sat here for the last 2 hours." "Well, then you're bored." "No, I'm quite happy. I'm looking out of the window." Anyhow, I started reading some of the tweets that were coming through, and there was this guy who's an amazing guy, and you need to speak to him at some stage, called Charlie Appleyard. And you've heard of Charlie, have you? I
saw him in the documentary.
Yeah. But Charlie is an incredible guy. He is. He's a very good business guy, but most important, he's a people's person. He puts people first, and he was looking to put the football team together, And I thought to myself, oh, that'd be amazing. If only I was 20 years younger, I could go and join this team. And the numbers were going up to about 25, 28 people had signed up to play football. And I just had the urge. And I wrote to him and I said, Charlie, I'm 59 years of age, or 58 years of age then. I'm overweight. I've not played football for 20 years.
Oh, you're painting this fabulous picture for me.
Yeah.
You really know how to sell it, hey?
I want to do something with the football. If you want me to carry the kit, if you want me to carry the footballs, if you want me to peel the oranges, I'll peel the oranges. But I want to do something.
Yeah.
And he said, fine, come along. And in typical Parkinson style, I then had an anxiety attack. And I wrote straight back to him saying, no, I don't think I can do all this.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Charlie rang me up that day. He asked me for my number and he sat me down and he said, Rich, he said, we're going to get you fit. He said, we're going to get you back on the football field.
Yeah.
And that night, I took the dogs for a walk and one of the grandchildren had left a football in my garden and I took a football and I kicked the football for the first time for many years.
Yeah.
And together with Charlie, we set up a training regime. And over the next 7 months, I trained. At one time, I was just over 13 stone 8. We talked about this in pounds before. Somebody will have to do the math. 13
pounds, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's math. Okay, so you're heavier than you are now.
Yeah, and I came down to 11 stone 10.
Oh, that's a pretty significant loss.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, good for you.
And got myself fit, got myself playing football again. At one stage, I didn't even know whether I could dive again because I hadn't dived on the floor, and I thought, I'm 60 years of age now. But like we said before, it just all came back to me.
Yeah.
And I went up and I met the team, or some of the team, and we played football together. And Charlie said, "You're the goalkeeper," and I was absolutely over the moon to be part of something so new and something so special, and back in a team environment. It absolutely lifted me. And when you talk to the other 11 players, that's exactly what it did to them. It gave you a belonging again.
Well, not only were you back on the soccer field, but you were back with other people like you, other men who were going through the same things that you'd gone through, right?
Yeah, and the most important thing, the most significant thing we had in common was we had a love for football. And
not Parkinson's.
Not Parkinson's.
A love for football. That's great.
And that came second. And it's been an absolute wonderful journey. And the journey is continuing. There are things I can't talk about at the moment. I wish I could talk about. But we're looking at setting up something that's going to be nationwide in England, Wales, Scotland and Ireland. That's going to be around sport for people with Parkinson's. And it's going to be tournaments.
When you talk about it, we'll do another live interview.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's move forward a little bit. So you practiced on your own and then you met with your team and then it was time to go to Copenhagen.
Yeah. Well, what we did, what we were able to do, the people in parts of London, other people in parts of mid and north England, and there was a couple of us in Wales that got together and we would train with different sides. So we would train and then we'd get together. We got together, I think, 3 times before we went away, but it was never a full side. There was always somebody missing. So we were never a full side until we got to Copenhagen.
Wow.
But we'd all planned it because that's all we could do. We could plan how we were going to play and who was there. It was quite a humbling experience because there were people whose Parkinson's were at a far more advanced stage than some of the guys in our football team. But you know, there's something I can't explain, Tanya. Some days I would play football and I couldn't get my gloves on because my Parkinson's was so bad. And I had team members putting my gloves on for me and putting my boots, tying my boots up on for me. we got a guy who's in the team. He suffers a lot from freezing. Sometimes he can't walk forward; he can only walk backwards.
Yeah.
But you know what? The minute you get on that football field, something happens. Something clicks up there, and it disappears. I was thinking the other day. I was talking to somebody. I don't think I've seen one person fall over because of their Parkinson's. I've seen loads of people fall over because they were tackling people or being tackled, but nobody falling over because of balance issues. It's like it switches your Parkinson's off. And I'm sure there are many other sports that if people are keen, whether it's netball, whether it's lacrosse, whether it's rugby, whether it's badminton, you know, when you get in the zone, you know, when you're playing that sport and you get in the zone, everything you forget. You know, there could be a house burning down over in the corner and you wouldn't see it because you're so focused on it.
I agree with you. I think that's I think that there are people who can run, but they have a hard time walking.
Yeah.
And I don't understand the reason behind that. Maybe it's because that type of movement comes from a slightly different part of the brain.
Yeah.
But
one guy in one of the Norwegian teams actually came onto the pitch on a Zimmer frame, and they took his Zimmer frame off him.
Is that a walker?
A walker, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a walker with wheels, yeah.
That's amazing.
So he needed that to get himself onto the pitch. And once
he was out there?
He was fine once he was out there.
That's absolutely incredible. So it must have been just an amazing experience for you to be there among, I mean, now you're among, at first you're among, what, is there, how many members on the team? 20 members? On the
11 members in the team.
11, okay. And then you show up in Copenhagen, and how many teams were there?
There were 5 in our group and 10 teams. Yeah.
So what was, when you showed up in Copenhagen, what, you know, were you guys nervous? Didn't know what to expect?
Well, we were the first team to come. The Ray Kennedy Cup. Ray Kennedy was a footballer who played in England, in Britain. He was a very successful player and a well-known international. He played for Liverpool and Arsenal, two top teams in this country.
Right.
And it was just for some strange reason, somebody, I think it was a physiotherapist, set up the Ray Kennedy Cup in Denmark. And there are a lot of teams from around Denmark, Sweden, Norway, that would enter that. And somebody, I think it was Sam from our team, noticed this going on and said, well, why don't we put a UK team in there? Well, he didn't say put a UK team in there. Let's put a team in there. Yeah. And a couple of English people joined, so it was going to be an English team. Then a couple of Welsh teams. It was going to be England and Wales. And, you know, we had to come up with a UK team to cover everybody coming from Scotland. And
got to be inclusive.
Yeah. And that's how it came together. And it's bizarre because we got so much more from football. I've got myself 10 amazing friends that I still speak to on an occasional level. We drop each other a line. Somebody dropped me a line the other day. He's bought himself a new car. Nice. And we're going to do it again next year because we've got unfinished business. We got to the semi-finals. Yes,
you got the bronze medal?
Yeah.
And that was your first time. You'd played 3 times together as a sort of a team, and you guys made it to the semifinals. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So now it was what month was this in?
August, end of August. Last
because I remember I watching the documentary and it was hot.
We had 3 training sessions and the event. Every time we trained, it was over 25 degrees. We just had freak weather.
Yeah.
And I am one of these people who really suffers in hot weather. I don't know whether it came up on the film, but I just had a completely soaking wet black towel that I had over my head in between matches and whatever.
I don't remember seeing that. I don't think I would forget that image.
I don't control my heat very well with my partner.
Yeah, which is very common.
Yeah, and I think we played our group matches and we put a lot of effort into that because we won 1-0, 1-0, 3-0, 4-0, and I think 1-0, something like that.
Yeah.
And I think
so you had a shutout.
Sorry?
You had a shutout.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Good.
For the group stages.
Yeah.
And then I think we just run out of steam for semi-finals.
Because it's one day event, right? It's just one day. These matches
Yeah,
are really short and they're like bing, 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 one right after the other.
yeah.
Because you probably have like multiple matches going on at the same time.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
12-minute matches.
Yeah.
If you have a 12-minute match and then you have a 15-minute rest and you're going into another match, so it all adds up quite quickly.
Yes.
But the guys were really fit, but I think the weather really did play against us.
Yeah.
And as a goalkeeper, I always say the goalkeeper is one of the worst places to make because you just can't make a mistake. If you make a mistake in goals, it ends up in goals as a goal. And I do have to live with, I should have saved that last goal.
No, I think
and
you
all
did.
my team, I know, all my team are saying it's a team game and we take the responsibility together and that. But I've definitely got unfinished business to go back there next year.
So I have to ask, what is your favorite memory of the whole experience with the UK YOPD Football Club up to now? Because you're going to obviously go and make more memories. So I want to know what your favorite one is up to now. What's the one thing that you go?
My favorite memory of coming back was finishing a match and yes, the hugs and the kisses from other guys that had suddenly became your friends.
Yeah.
That said it all. It just, it was a closeness.
Yeah.
And it was something special. And it was one of those things where, for some reason, there were 11 people who got on really well together. There was a lot of banter. There was a lot of pulling people's legs. A typical
football club.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that that's your favorite memory. I mean, a lot of people would say, oh, when we got our medal, or oh, when I scored a goal, or oh, but for you, it's more about how it made you feel.
Yeah. Johnny, you're the worst memory.
What's your worst memory?
When I started singing at the end and I was out of key.
Oh, that's okay. I'll forgive you. I'm a terrible singer.
Me and Johnny, I blame Johnny because Johnny started off in the wrong key.
Blame Johnny.
That just came from nowhere.
Yeah.
It was quite funny because I don't think the Scandinavian countries were quite ready for our way of actually celebrating our loss. And we just picked up the song on a telephone and started singing into the mic and we just had 200 people just looking at us going, what are these crazy people from UK doing? Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So that's your worst memory? That sounds like it's a front runner for your best memory, if you ask me.
I'm going to be more prepared next time.
Maybe do a little bit of vocal warm-ups.
Yeah.
Okay, so we should probably wrap it up here, but I do have one last question for you. I know that, and I apologize to people watching. I can't see who the questions are coming from, and I will do my best to work on that for the next time. But what advice do you have for people living with Parkinson's, that you give to those watching? I mean, like many of us, you came from you're overweight, your exercise routine had become stagnant. Some people are starting off fresh, or they haven't been exercising. So, what advice do you have for people, especially when it comes to exercise?
People who've recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's, it's a bit of a roller coaster, and there will be some deep places you will go, and there will be some dark places you will go.
Definitely.
I don't want to sound flippant, but I am not going to let Parkinson's beat me. I'm going to die a grumpy old man shouting at the kids for kicking a football on my garden. I'm not going to die from Parkinson's because there's two things going to happen. I'm either going to die of old age or they're going to find a cure before. And I'm going to stay optimistic like that. The one thing I can do, or one of the things I can do, is I can eat well. I can have a healthy diet. I can't underestimate the importance of keeping yourself fit. And that's not just for people with Parkinson's.
Yes.
That's for people of all ages. I've got my 87-year-old dad that I'm introducing into doing stretching exercises. and warm-ups and that. And,
did you let him warm up before you had him kick the balls at you?
Yes, I did.
Sorry.
Exercise is one of the ways forward. If you want to slow down, and I think some of the information we're getting in this country, exercise does slow down the progress of Parkinson's. And there's so many different forms of Parkinson, of exercise. I know yourself, you concentrate more on, is it fair to say, powerlifting and...
Yeah, like body, I don't do powerlifting, I do more like bodybuilding style stuff. So I don't focus necessarily on, at this point, on lifting super heavy weights, but I do things to make it heavier for my body. You know what I'm saying? Like I hold my arms out farther, I go really slow. So I have like gym muscles. I'm working now on gaining more strength, like overall strength, so that I can get into more things like powerlifting and stuff. But yeah, I mean.
Yeah. And one last thing, Tanya, is make it fun. Don't go out there and try and overdo it all the time, because what people tend to do is they go out, they will try and run 5 miles and think, oh my God, that was terrible, I'm not going to do it again. Start walking 2 miles and then walk 3 miles.
Be honest with yourself.
Yeah, I go out there and when I walk with my dog, try and get involved in everything you do. When I walk with my dog, I walk and I try and extend my stride, because I know that's a problem.
Get that little shuffly steps. You try to make your feet go far.
Yeah.
Get your heel to strike. Yeah.
And just never give in to it.
Do you think? I know I said that was my last question, but I mean, maybe it's not so much a question as a comment, but I think what Richard is saying is to keep a positive attitude. That doesn't mean be a Pollyanna and, I'm happy all the time and be fake about it. If you feel anxiety, if you feel negative, you have to let yourself feel those, like you said, go to those deep places at times. You just can't unpack and live there.
No. And I do. I have my off days. I have my difficult days.
Yeah.
What I have found useful is being able to tell people that. I say to my wife, I'm having not a good day. I don't expect her to do anything, but I want her to understand why I'm the way I am.
Yeah.
You sometimes have to look at strategies for getting yourself out of those situations. I'm not very good with sad films. I can't watch The Lion King.
I haven't watched the new one yet because the old one made me cry a lot. Yeah. Ugly cry.
And that it's just a simple way that I keep myself positive. I try to watch nice things on telly, funny things on telly. I struggle. But sorry, what was your question again?
Well, you were just kind of finishing talking about how it's okay to feel negative feelings, but you got to do your best. Don't pretend that you're good all the time. Don't fake it.
Yeah. I get up. I'm in pain. One of the biggest things. There's 3 things that cause me the biggest problems is the pain, the anxiety, and the tremor, and they're all stuck together. They're a part of my life. I will try and deal with them the best I can, but I'm not going to let this ruin my life. I've still got responsibilities. I've got responsibilities to my family. I've got responsibilities to other people. I've got responsibilities. I feel I've got responsibilities to other people with Parkinson's, to let them know that there are things that they can do that will make their quality of life a lot better.
Yes.
And that's what I want to do. That's my job now.
That's your job. Yeah. And you're doing a great job. I mean, you're not only talking the talk, but you're walking the walk, right? And I think that's important, is people to be able to see that it's not a competition, but people have come from where they are not walking or they're not doing very well, and they've managed to work their way back. And if that person can do it, so can you. All you have to do is believe in yourself and be willing to do the work. That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for joining me today, Richard.
Can I say one quick thing?
Of course you can.
I blog on Facebook under The Ramblings of a Man with Parkinson's. So if you go to Facebook and you look up The Ramblings of a Man with Parkinson's, you can obviously understand that I've been rambling so much.
I'll post a link in the comments below.
And also on Twitter under Richie Real.
That Richie Real. Well, okay, I'll have to look for. I'll post the link. Can I post the link to Twitter? I'll post your handle, your tweet, your handle.
Yeah, and I just put some inspirational stuff on there. I put some stuff on there about what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Some of the good things, some of the things that I don't find very good about having Parkinson's. I try to let people know what Parkinson's is about, and that's what I set it out about. It wasn't about self-pity and poor me or anything about like that. It was about people knowing there are people in your street, there are people that you pass every day that you will not realise have Parkinson's. Because a lot, I'll finish on this with you now, Tanya. So many people say to me, "You look great, Richard. You look fine, and you've got Parkinson's." Yeah. That's because you don't see me when I'm bad, because I can't get out of the house when I'm bad. You know, I can't walk down the road when I'm bad. Yeah. I can't drive my car. So there are a lot of people who think Parkinson's is not what it is.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we better wrap it up. So I'm going to say thank you, and it was lovely to talk to you. And I will post the links in the comments below. And again, I apologize to you guys for watching, that I couldn't see your comments. I'm going to do my best to have that fixed for next time. But thank you for joining us, and thank you to Richard.
Looked in.
Yes, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. So we'll say goodbye.
Okay.
Okay, take care. Tanya. Cheers. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.